Tonight, shots fired during a funeral procession in West Dayton. Police telling us a group was heading to up Germantown Street, I should say, going to a cemetery when one of the motorcycles in the group was hit by another vehicle. Lydia Bice was at the scene where the shooting took place and has what led up to the violence.
Just after 1 o'clock on Thursday, Dayton police received a shots fired call on Germantown Street near Mount Clair Avenue. When they got there, they were stunned by what they saw.
When we arrived on scene, we had a large crowd, probably over 100, 200 people out here.
When the initial officers saw that large crowd, a signal 99 was dispatched, meaning an officer needs help.
Once everything went off, police are coming from everywhere. Every county showed up.
That's when they found the victim.
We do have one victim who was in a traffic crash, but he's also unfortunately been shot. He is in life-threatening conditions, so homicide detectives and traffic services detectives have been summoned here to the scene.
DPD says they're working to learn where exactly the shots came from.
We don't know if there was a vehicle or another person or what, but we do know there was a large crowd and shots were fired, so it was a pretty volatile situation.
Those living in the area told us it's sad that violence would happen when this group was trying to bury a loved one.
Funerals these days, they're getting dangerous, like almost like you have to come armed to a funeral. And it sounds kind of insane, but it's just the world we live in now.
That was Lydia Bice reporting. Now, the victim was taken to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. When we get an update on how they're doing, we'll, of course, update you on air and online at Dayton247now.com. Well, the former Kettering school choir director charged after police say child pornography was found on his phone withdrew his guilty plea. 37-year-old Matthew Kohler was supposed to be sentenced today after pleading guilty to child porn charges back in August. Today, the judge accepted the now not guilty plea and granted Kohler a trial. His trial will begin April 21st. We now want to give you a live look tonight. This is from our ODOT cameras near I-70 at Dayton International Airport Road. I-70 East looks like it has just now been reopened. However, there was a scene earlier. In fact, this is what it looked like tonight as troopers tell us a semi collided with an overhead sign just after 6 o'clock. No one was hurt, thank goodness for that, and the driver was detoured, or drivers were being detoured around that scene near Inglewood. Of course, we'll continue to update you as soon as we learn more on that situation as well.
Well, it was a great day across the Miami Valley. Temperatures making it up into those upper 70s. So topping out officially at 77 degrees, low 51. So right around our normal for our low temperature, but we managed to warm up nicely for this afternoon with temperatures back above normal for this time of the year. This is what we're tracking in our forecast. We have a weak front that will make its way in tomorrow. That'll bring some clouds, a brief cool down on Saturday, followed by another cold front on Sunday, which does bring us a nice fall chill into the area as we head into next week. So things are looking good. Heading out to the bus stop tomorrow for the kids. Maybe needing a light sweater in the morning. Warm afternoon, warming up close to 80 degrees with sunshine, although a few more clouds expected by later into the day. I'll have a look at your 7-day coming up.
We're continuing to track the aftermath of Helene, which is now the second deadliest hurricane in the last 50 years. The Solvita Blood Center needs your help tonight. The center says it is in critical need of blood after what they say is a rough start to the month of October. Gwyneth Falloon now has been following this story for us, and joins us now live in studio. So Gwen, is there a reason for this really serious situation?
Elise, Solvita tells me it's kind of a twofold problem. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so the center always ramps up their efforts to support those battling cancer. However, the Miami Valley was also hit pretty hard in the aftermath of Helene last month, and those impacts trickled into October, affecting Solvita's ability to host drives and the community's ability to donate. But the center hoped to close the gap a little thanks to a partnership with the Dayton Art Institute.
This is a combination of heart, people giving their heart to help others through blood donations, and art.
The Dayton Art Institute joining in on the fight against what Solvita Blood Center says is a critical need. Mark Pompilio with the Blood Center tells me they're low across the board, but is in most need of type O, a shortage only heightened in the aftermath of Helene.
We lost blood drives last weekend, and we lost appointments as the week got started because there were many, many people that were still without power.
But Solvita is continuing to find ways to recover, bringing a mobile blood center to the Art Institute, giving employees like Paige Madison and the community a chance to make even the smallest of differences.
Think about, yourself in the future, or think about a family member in the future that, you never know when you could need it. And it's important to give back while we can.
Now, mobile centers are not the only way to make a blood donation, so keep in mind all month, donors, they're going to be receiving this Fight Cancer shirt. If you make a donation between October 11th and 19th, that's the center's Pink Out Blood Drive, so they're going to have some extra incentives for you then. But the biggest one, anyone who registers to give blood this month will be entered to win tickets to the game on November 30th when Ohio State takes on Michigan at the Shoe. Back to you.
Cleanup from Hurricane Helene continuing around the Miami Valley tonight. The historical Dixie Twin Drive sign was actually destroyed by the strong winds, and a temporary one is now up to show what movies are being played. Jenna Lee Bork is live from there now. So Jenna Lee, what is left of the sign?
Elise, the sign that couldn't be missed as you drive down Dixie Drive is now just a pile of metal, but you can still tell what some of the pieces were. The sign survived for 67 years, but it couldn't make it through Helene.
It survived the tornado, survived numerous storms. The tornado didn't touch it, did not knock letters off of it. The storms have never touched it. This is the first one to knock it down.
A historical gem destroyed by the fierce wind and rain Hurricane Helene brought to the Miami Valley. It was around 5:15 on Friday. Dixie Twin Drive-In's general manager Alan Copeland was notified the sign that stood for 67 years was down. He says Montgomery County sheriffs were here when he arrived shortly after.
And we discussed moving the sign away from the road so that if the wind picks up again, it doesn't blow any other parts to the road. They did try to move it all intact, at least slide it along the ground, but it literally fell apart.
The sign had to be cut into pieces, now sitting on a patch of grass as you enter the drive-in. Copeland says some pieces were taken by a company who plans to get them to the American Sign Museum in Cincinnati, and a sculptor took other pieces. I spoke to Todd Swarmstead, the museum's founder, about why signs are so special to people.
What appeals to most people is the memories associated with these signs. And usually it's a good memory. I mean, it conjures up, the past.
A temporary sign now names the movies playing until November 3rd, when the drive-in closes for winter. Copeland tells me by the time it reopens in spring, a new sign will be finished and it will have a unique touch.
When they came out Tuesday morning, they did take a lot of the pieces from the old sign to see what they could fabricate onto the new sign. That way you have some historical pieces onto the new sign.
The old sign will be cemented in history if some of the pieces make it to the museum.
What the museum really is it's a slice of American history. We don't have a drive-in movie sign. So, I guess that's a void in our collection.
Copeland says despite rumors the drive-in is staying open, tonight was a special screening of Joker 2, and there were plenty of people who came out to support one of Dayton's historical gems. Back to you in studio.
President Biden continuing to survey damage caused by Hurricane Helene down south. Now today he says he saw that destruction in Florida with Republican Senator Rick Scott. Afterwards he said the government will cover 100% of the costs for debris removal and protective measures in Florida, Georgia and North Carolina for at least 3 months. He also spoke about the federal officials currently on the ground to help.
Department of Agriculture, and I have with me the Secretary of Agriculture today, is on the ground to support farmers, ranchers, and small businesses impacted by this storm. And FEMA teams are literally knocking on doors.
Now, killing more than 210 people, Helene is now the deadliest hurricane to hit the United States mainland since Katrina back in 2005. Well, the victims of Hurricane Helene need our help, of course, and viewers like you are answering the call in a really big way. You've helped raise more than $110,000 just days into the Sinclair Cares Hurricane Helene Relief Campaign. Dayton 24/7 now is partnering with the Salvation Army and our parent company, Sinclair Inc., to help assist with humanitarian relief efforts across the disaster zone. Sinclair is matching the first $50,000 raised. Just head to sinclaircares.com or scan the QR code on your screen to make a donation. And we have a developing update on the port strike all along the eastern and Gulf Coast, what port workers decided today and what it means for the U.S. after the break. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
A surprising twist you probably
We now know tonight the strike at the ports along the east and Gulf Coast is over. The International Longshoremen's Association reached a tentative deal on wages in exchange for suspending their strike. A source says the agreement on wages comes out to a $4 per hour pay raise for each year of the contract.
It means that they can provide, put food on the table, pay their bills. They don't have to worry anymore of possibly losing their cars or their homes or anything like that. You know, we're just coming back off of a major catastrophe, maritime tragedy with the bridge collapse. We were out of work for 2 months. Now we're out of work for a few more days. We're very excited to be back.
Since the union agreed to extend the contract, shipping and port companies have until January 15th to find terms on a full agreement. In the meantime, however, port workers will return to work tomorrow morning. Former President Donald Trump voicing his frustrations tonight after special counsel Jack Smith's new motion laid out a timeline of events leading up to the January 6th riots. On Truth Social, Trump called the move unconstitutional and questioned why it came out weeks before the election. Some of the former president's supporters say that motion is politically driven and that voters don't care about Trump's actions after he lost the 2020 election. The unsealed documents in the motion allege Trump resorted to criminal actions as a way to stay in the White House. According to the filing, though, Trump told his family, quote, "It doesn't matter if you won or lost the election, you still have to fight." We now know tonight 3 former Memphis police officers have been convicted on federal charges in the beating death of Tyree Nichols, the men you see here behind me. Jury found Tadarius Bean, Demetrius Haley, and Justin Smith all guilty of witness tampering, but they also acquitted Bean and Smith of all civil rights charges. Haley, meanwhile, was convicted for depriving Nichols of his civil rights through bodily harm. Now, here's Nichols' mother speaking after the verdict.
This has been a long journey for our family. I'm actually in shock right now because I still can't believe all this stuff is going on. But we're happy that they all have been convicted and they have been arrested.
Emmett Martin III and Desmond Mills Jr., the 2 other officers charged in the case, pleaded guilty to some federal charges and even testified during the weeks-long trial. The 5 officers also faced second-degree murder charges in state court, where they pleaded not guilty. We still have a couple months before the winter, but Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is already preparing for the weather. How their snow removal team is gearing up to keep roads safe. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
Take Dayton 24/7 Now News with
Well, we don't want to hear it quite yet, of course. Winter, though, is on its way. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is sharing already its preparation plans as we gear up for that dreaded snow. Today, the snow removal team showcased their tools and vehicles and shared their plan to keep the streets safe.
If we don't prepare ourselves, we're going to end up losing. We're going to be 2 or 3 steps behind. We try to stay on top of the pre-treating the roads and pre-treating the parking lots, so that way, the sooner we do our job, the sooner the rest of the Wright Pat can come out here and do their job.
Now, Wheelock says it's always rewarding, knowing that they play a key role making sure everyone that works on base has a safe home. And it is week 7 of Thursday Night Lights. We're going to have a look at the action between the Preble Shawnee Arrows and the Tri-County North Panthers coming up next. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
Life's busy. Off is not an option.
The Dayton 24/7 Now News app, brought to you by the